how to get sellers to accept the list price that you want to list the property at versus the pie in the sky number that they want to list at. There's two strategies that I use multiple times over to get sellers to always list at the price that I want to within reason, in order to make sure that the listing actually gets sold and it's not just wasting your time, energy, attention, and money by throwing it up on the MLS at a completely ridiculous number, and then you just lost money because you invested your time, but it doesn't sell and expires or gets terminated. So let's break down these two strategies to make sure that next time you get a listing presentation with a seller that is just completely irrational, you're able to get the outcome that you're looking for. What's up, guys? It's Mike Sherrard with eXp Realty. I train thousands of agents every year to skyrocket their business the modern way, leveraging social media. And going forward, I'm doing something new just to help you scale your business the modern way every single week. For anybody that subscribes to my YouTube channel, likes and comments on any video like this one, so smash that like button, I will be entering you in to win a free copy of my Social Agent Academy, the top social media training on every single platform to crush it, generate leads, and close multiple deals every month from social. But in my market, when I was a top producer, you can see the trophies behind me here, I did a lot of production in a very, very difficult market. Back in 2017, 2018, when I first kind of got started, my market was one of the slowest in North America. About 27% of listings were selling. Think about that. Right now, we're in this crazy time where everything's selling in like 12 minutes over list price. Well, I was dealing with 63 days on market, average days on market, 12 to 14 months of inventory, and a ridiculous amount of listings just simply not selling. The amount of expired and terminated listings was insanity. So what I had to do is something that is a little bit different, but also similar to what you're likely facing now, is that people in my market bought back in 2014, 2015, and now we're having to sell their home for like $200,000 less than they paid. So obviously the number that they wanted was higher than the one that the numbers and the comps were saying it should be. Similarly, a lot of the people that you're now going to be dealing with are seeing what properties were selling for 6 months ago in their market, and now it's 50 grand less, 25 grand less, 75, 100 grand less, and now they're wanting the same numbers before interest rates went crazy. So let's break down these two simple principles that I did in order to make sure that I got the listing. I didn't have to buy the listing, which is when you just accept whatever number the seller wants, and I was able to get the job done. Okay, so number one, very strategic, and this works incredibly well. Sellers are always going to be passionate about their property because it's theirs, it's their home. There's sentimental value there, there's a lot of memories created there, and they've got a lot of love for their home. The problem with that is that they think their home is like the most special thing on the planet when we all know it's not. But that's how they feel about it, so there's an emotional aspect to the decision. So one of the things you have to do is approach this in a way that's going to remove or reduce the emotion involved in order to make sure that they're looking at this logically, not just emotionally. So one of the things I used to do that worked incredibly well is that I would run the comps when doing the CMA, or the compared to the market analysis for the property, and I would look at the closest examples of properties that are currently listed very similar to the one that I was going up to list for. And what I would do is I would choose properties that were maybe a little bit more expensive, like not a lot. I'm talking $10,000, $25,000 more. But what I would do is I would pick about 3 to 5 of them, and before actually listing or agreeing on a price to list their property, I would go take them on a tour of the currently active properties that they would be competing against. And what happened almost every single time is they would go into these properties that were like literally the exact same price or $10,000, $25,000 more, and they would be shocked at how much higher the quality was of those homes. They would be shocked at how much cleaner those homes were, or how much better they presented in terms of staging and things like that. And every single time they would go in thinking that their property is like living heaven, the most incredible thing the city's ever seen. And then they would come back and say, well, damn, maybe we were a little out to lunch on thinking about the price that we thought of initially. And it was a really great way to give tangible context as to, hey, here's actually what you're going up against. Because we all know as agents that pictures don't do properties justice. They can either A, make a property look a million times better than it is and bigger based on the angles, or B, it can look like trash on photos, but it's stunning in person. So by going and doing a bit of a tour of the best, obviously there's going to be other properties that are listed too high. Don't choose those ones. Choose the ones that either A, slightly higher in price, or B, slightly lower in price than they want, but in alignment with what you want. And then go tour those properties, and almost every single time they're going to come back with a completely different perspective, because now they're looking from a buyer's perspective. And all you have to do is ask them, how do these 4 properties, 2 of which are lower than the price you want to list at, 2 of which are higher? Oftentimes, if you pick 2 really good ones that are slightly lower than where they want to list, but more in alignment with where you want to list, then they're going to say, I would have chose that one. And you're going to be like, exactly. That's why we can't list at your crazy ass number. Now, the second strategy is something I call like the happy medium tactic. And this is an interesting one where it's kind of making you and the sellers happy regardless of what the numbers are. So let me give you a random example of this. Let's say that you want to list a property at $500,000 and they think the property should be listed at $520,000. And of course, this is all relative. You can skew this however the numbers look, but you want to list at 500, they want to list at 520, and you know that if it lists at 520, it ain't selling and it's going to sit on the market, waste a ton of your money and a ton of your time. And then we all know that price curve, the longer a property stays on the market, the lower you're usually going to have to accept, because now people are going to see this beautiful property and the incredible photos that you take, and they're going to wonder, why the heck is this still on the market? There's got to be something wrong with it. Even if there isn't. But that's the perception from buyers. So what I used to do if they weren't willing to budge after viewing a few compared to the properties like we talked about in the first strategy, is I would talk to them and say, okay, listen, I will list at 520. However, we're going to write it in the listing contract that after the first week, sometimes 2 weeks, but usually after the first week, if we get feedback that the property from showing time or whatever you guys use, if we get feedback from the agents that they think the property is overpriced, or if it does not yet sell, then you agree to reduce the list price to a price reduction to $500,000. And that was a happy medium, because now let's say there is a fluke and somehow somebody's actually willing to pay 520. Well, now they're happy. They're right, so they feel even happier because you're wrong, and now you're going to make more money anyway. But if you're right, which is going to be usually the majority of cases, especially if you do proper data analysis for the CMAs, then now you're able to give them what they want straight out the gate. But then a happy medium is them accepting that if other agents are giving feedback that is also too high, that they're going to reduce. Now, the third thing, a little bonus one, is that what I used to do as well is say, okay, listen, I'm not a huge advocate for cutting commissions at all. Almost all of the properties that I've ever sold were at full commission, which is pretty terrible in my market, to be honest. But anyways, almost always full commission. However, in difficult markets, I would do something which is a performance-based structure. So what I would do is say, okay, you're listing at this number, $500,000. And let's say that they're a little nervous about that price, but it is something that they're willing to do with you. What I would do is say, okay, if I get your property sold within reason between 500 and 490, because that's how most properties were selling in my market, was about 10K below list price. If I get it sold within the first 30 days at this range between 500 and 490, then I will get full commission. However, if we have to accept less than 490 and we have to do a price reduction, then I will also reduce my commission in order to make sure that I am mutually invested into this with you and that I've got some skin in the game. So if you're gonna have to take less than you're expecting, I will take less than I'm expecting. And it wasn't like a 50% cut. Sometimes it would be like 10, 20%, whatever, 25%. But again, being mutually invested and also making them happy gives sellers confidence. So those were the 2.5 strategies that I used to always use in order to get people to list at the price that I wanted while simultaneously making them happy as the sellers. So if you have any other questions or if you've got any strategies that have worked well for you, drop a comment below because I'd love to hear them. Otherwise, thanks so much for tuning in. As always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.